Victoria's public housing system has been in crisis for decades, with little hope of accommodating the nearly 40,000 people on the waiting list. Now the system's heading for a major shake-up, with the Baillieu government considering putting up rents and evicting tenants after a few years. As Anna McDonald reports, the proposals are causing great anxiety for those whose homes are public property.
Kate Borland's life has changed since she moved into this public housing flat in Carlton 5 years ago.
Well, I've managed to finish my degree, work in a job I really adore with people that need a lot of help. My children go to school very close to here.
So concerned about the rights of public housing tenants, Ms Borland ran as an independent in the recent Melbourne by-election. She's worried a proposal being considered by the state government could mean tenants like her would have to move out after a couple of years.
It doesn't mean to say that all of a sudden I'm on my feet, that I can then, go out and afford the private rental market.
But there are 38,000 Victorians waiting for the same opportunity.
We were staying with a friend who let us stay with them in their apartment, which was in a 2-bedroom apartment, and there was 3 adults, 4 kids and 3 cats.
Sue is considered by the Department of Human Services as being in urgent need of accommodation, but she's been waiting for 3 years.
I'm a single mum, 4 children, and with 1 child I've got to be on 24-hour call for her, so it's not possible to get a full-time job or a part-time job where my boss is going to say, yeah, it's okay for you to run off at the drop of a hat.
What's the last 3 years been like waiting, if you like, for a place to become available?
We're lucky we have a roof over our head, and it's just the constant not knowing where you're going to end up.
How to meet the huge demand for public housing has been the focus of a 3-month public consultation process that ended this week. It followed the release of an alarming Auditor-General's report.
A very difficult and financially unsustainable position, but it has been in some respects for some time, or put another way, this has been coming for some time.
The report found the current funding model is unsustainable and cash reserves will dry up this financial year. There are 10,000 government-owned properties that'll be unlivable within 4 years, and there's no money or plans to fix them. Swinburne University's Terry Burke says the blame largely lies with the federal government, which provides funding to the states that they then match.
The Commonwealth has embarked probably a decade and a half ago on a reduction of funding for public housing in Australia. And that reduction is really the cause of the problem.
But the Baillieu government blames its predecessors.
Neglect and mismanagement by Labor over the past 10 years of public housing.
The Housing Minister, Wendy Lovell, wasn't available to be interviewed. Her spokesperson says it's premature to speculate about the outcomes of the review. But earlier, the Minister said drastic changes were needed, flagging the options of asset sales and rent increases.
Well, a disposal strategy is a part of good management of any housing portfolio, and the rent model will be investigated as part of the housing framework.
The government released 2 discussion papers that float a range of options. They include reforms around not only security of tenure, but rent increases and the transferring of public stock to the not-for-profit sector.
This pathways document talks about pathways out of public housing, and we would ask the question, to where? There is no affordable and available housing in the private market. That's why you've got so many people in housing stress clamouring to get into public housing.
The Public Tenants Association says short-term leases would take away a tenant's sense of security and stability.
And to suggest that, we know that you signed an open-ended lease with no end date, but we've changed our mind and now you have to leave, you're taking away people's homes.
The idea is also being criticised by Terry Burke.
What it's saying is if you improve your income and we have short-term tenancies, then when you improve your income, we'll ask you to leave. Now that sends a work disincentive to me.
The state opposition's Richard Wynne was the housing minister under the Brumby government.
3 questions this government has to answer. Are they going to raise the rents on some of the poorest people in our community? Are they going to limit the tenure of some of the poorest people in our community to public housing and send them off into the private rental market? Where are they going to go? And thirdly, are they going to simply sell off public housing stock? They're the 3 big issues.
You have to accept some blame for the situation that we're in now, don't you?
Well, I tell you what I accept. I accept an extraordinary track record of our government and the investment that we have made into public housing.
As the blame game continues, Victoria's 130,000 public tenants are left wondering what lies ahead. Kate Borland says if she is asked to vacate her apartment to make way for someone on the waiting list, she wouldn't survive.
If I were to go out into the private rental market, I could no longer afford to even eat. By moving me out and moving someone else in, it doesn't make it any better for me or any better for those people.
Analysis of Victoria